Your father taught you to be kind, and you lived like a kind man among beasts. You turned the other cheek. You forgave the unforgivable. You believed that your goodness would be your shield. But it wasn't. It was your collar. The truth is brutal. People didn't respect you for being kind. They exploited you because you were predictable. You didn't inspire loyalty. You inspired convenience. You weren't valued. You were used. Not because you were weak, but because the world your father prepared you for doesn't exist. He told you to play fair in a game that rewards manipulation. He told you to be honest in a world that punishes transparency. He told you to be soft in a time that only respects sharp edges. He raised a lamb and sent it into a slaughterhouse. And now you wonder why you're bleeding. But this isn't your fault. You were programmed, raised to lose with dignity instead of win with power. So today, we begin the reprogramming. There is another father, one who would have taught you differently, Niccolò Machiavelli. He wouldn't have told you to be liked. He would have told you to be feared. He wouldn't have told you to wait your turn. He would have taught you to take what's yours. This video isn't soft. It won't hug you. It won't feed you hope. It will hurt because it's real. What comes next are the lessons your real father couldn't teach you, not because he didn't love you, but because he was too gentle for the truth. You're about to learn the rules of reality, the kind that get men promoted, respected, obeyed, feared. If you want to believe in fairy tales, stop here. But if you're ready to burn the script and rewrite your story, keep watching. Lesson 1. Results over effort. Your father told you to work hard, to grind, to stay humble, and trust that effort would speak for itself. He taught you to believe that sweat is sacred, that pain is progress, that the world keeps score, and eventually it would notice. But the world didn't. You worked harder than everyone. You skipped parties. You skipped sleep. You bled for the company, for the dream, for the cause. And yet, nothing. No recognition, no reward, no respect, because your father was wrong. The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards results. There's a disease in the modern mind called the labor illusion. It's the belief that struggle earns you value, that if you just hurt enough, someone will hand you a crown. But suffering is not a currency, it's a distraction. The more you glorify pain, the more you normalize your own exploitation. A bridge built by a kind man that collapses is still a failure. A bridge built by a tyrant that stands for a century is still a success. The universe doesn't care who you are, it only cares what you deliver. Your father raised you to be a good worker, obedient, tireless, and easy to please. That made you useful. It did not make you powerful. Machiavelli would teach you to measure by impact, to calculate every move based on leverage, not effort. If you can do in 1 hour what others do in 10, that's not laziness, that's superiority. Stop asking, how hard am I working? Start asking, how much am I producing? If you're digging a trench with your bare hands while the man next to you uses a bulldozer, your father would admire your dedication. Machiavelli would laugh at your stupidity. Lesson 1 is not about being less disciplined. It's about being more dangerous. Because power doesn't care about your pain. It only responds to proof. Lesson 2. Controlled cruelty. Your father told you to be kind, always. Even when others hurt you, he told you to forgive, to rise above, to turn the other cheek. He believed that if you showed mercy, the world would mirror that mercy back to you. But it didn't. You were kind to people who disrespected you. You forgave those who crossed your boundaries. You thought your restraint made you noble, but it only made you vulnerable. Because in the real world, forgiveness without consequences isn't virtue. It's permission. When you tolerate disrespect, you don't teach people to treat you better. You teach them that crossing you has no cost. You become the safe target, the one they can push, interrupt, ignore, manipulate without fear of consequences. Machiavelli understood something your father didn't. If an injury must be done, it should be so severe that retaliation is impossible. Half measures are dangerous. A wounded enemy recovers. A humiliated enemy plots. A forgiven enemy crosses the line again. this time with more confidence. Controlled cruelty isn't chaos, it's clarity. It means drawing a boundary and enforcing it absolutely. No second chances, no soft landings. If someone threatens your peace, you don't negotiate. You remove, you block, you cut off the supply. This applies in business, in relationships, even within yourself. If a toxic habit keeps resurfacing, don't reduce it, destroy it. If a team member poisons the culture, don't coach, replace. If a friend betrays you, don't take a break, walk away forever. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the result of undeniable consequences. Lesson 2. Do not aim to be liked. Aim to be untouchable. Lesson 3. Curated image. Your father told you to just be yourself, that if you were good inside, people would see it, that your reputation would naturally follow your character. So you walked into the world, raw, unfiltered, open, and then you wondered why no one respected you. The truth is, people don't see who you are. They see what you present. They judge you not by your intentions, but by the signals you emit. They don't read your soul. They read your posture, your tone, your grooming, your silence. Reputation is not discovered, it's engineered. You were told that authenticity is strength, that showing vulnerability makes you relatable. But here's the Machiavellian truth. Authenticity without power is just exposure, and exposure without control is suicide. The world doesn't reward rawness, it rewards refinement. Machiavelli understood that a prince is not just a ruler, he is a performance. You don't just walk through life, you curate your presence. You edit your words, you design your image like armor. That doesn't mean you lie, it means you are strategic with the truth. You highlight what commands respect. You conceal what invites pity. When you are afraid, you project calm. When you are uncertain, you project silence. When you are angry, you project poise. Not because it's fake, but because it's effective. Think of the most powerful men you know. You don't know them. You know the idea of them, the version they allow you to see. They don't broadcast their weakness. They protect their mystique. They don't cry for sympathy. They signal strength even in silence. Lesson 3. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you signal. Build the image first. The substance will follow. Lesson 4. Gratitude versus necessity. Your father told you to be helpful, generous, to do good for others without expecting anything in return, and that one day they'd return the favor. He taught you to build relationships through kindness, through sacrifice, through selflessness. And now you sit there asking, after everything I did for them, why didn't they come through for me? Because your father was wrong. People are not loyal to kindness. They are loyal to necessity. Gratitude is a weak currency, easily spent, quickly forgotten. When you help someone, they may thank you. But deep down, they resent you. Because your help reminds them of their weakness, of their dependency. And nobody likes to feel weak. That's why the people you save often become the ones who sabotage you later, because they want to erase the memory that you were once above them. Machiavelli knew this. If you want true loyalty, do not rely on goodwill, rely on leverage. Become the person who holds the key, the connection, the irreplaceable skill. Be the keystone, because if they need you, truly need you, they will not betray you, not out of love, but out of survival. In business, in relationships, in every power dynamic, stop trying to be liked, start becoming essential. Lesson 4. Stop buying love with favors. Start renting loyalty through necessity. Lesson 5. The Lion and the Fox. Your father told you to be honest, straightforward, to say what you mean and mean what you say. He believed that if you were clear and consistent, people would trust you. He raised you to be one thing: predictable, but predictable men get played. If they always know how you'll react, they can control you. They know which buttons to press, when to disarm you, when to push, and when you'll break. Predictability isn't trust, it's exposure. Machiavelli understood that to survive in a world of wolves, you need more than muscle. You need masks. You need the sharp teeth of the lion and the silent cunning of the fox. One without the other is weakness. The brute gets outmaneuvered. The schemer gets overpowered. You were taught that playing politics is dirty. But here's the truth. Refusing to play isn't noble, it's naive. Because while you keep your head down, the foxes are moving in silence, shaping perceptions, taking power. There will be moments when force is the answer, when you must roar, confront, impose. But there will also be times when silence wins, when subtlety seduces, when retreat is the smartest attack. Wisdom is knowing which to use and when. Be the man who can change shape, who speaks softly in the meeting, then crushes in negotiation, who plays the fool in public, then dominates in private, who walks like prey but strikes like a predator. Lesson 5. The man who is only a lion gets trapped. The man who is only a fox gets eaten. The man who is both becomes king. Lesson 6. The world is not neutral. Your father told you the world is what you make of it, that if you are good, the world will be good back. He taught you to assume the best in people, to give second chances, to believe that deep down, everyone means well. But that's not the world you live in. You live in a world where smiles hide daggers, where partnerships are traps, where the game is rigged and the rules change mid-play. You assumed others were playing by the same book as you, but they're not even playing the same game. You thought being good would protect you, but it only made you predictable, safe, exploitable. Machiavelli knew this. He warned that a man who tries to be good in a world full of those who are not will come to grief. Not because goodness is wrong, but because goodness alone is insufficient. Assume self-interest, not out of cynicism, but out of accuracy. When you enter a deal, do not trust intentions, read the contract. When you enter a relationship, don't rely on vows, watch actions. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Your father told you to give people the benefit of the doubt, but some people are snakes, and doubt is exactly what they need to strike. This doesn't mean paranoia, it means preparation. Study people, not with hope, with clarity. Stop assuming the world mirrors your heart. It doesn't. It reflects your blind spots. Lesson 6. Your goodness does not change the world, but their nature can destroy you. Stay sharp. Assume nothing. Lesson 7. Fear over love. Your father wanted you to be loved, to be the nice guy, the one who gets along with everyone. He taught you that approval is power, that being liked is the fastest way to influence. But he was wrong. Love is an emotion. Fear is a calculation. People fall in and out of love. They get bored. They get distracted. They forget how much they used to care. But fear stays. Not the fear of abuse, not terror, respect. Fear that comes from high standards. Fear that comes from consequences. Fear of disappointment. Fear of loss. Machiavelli said it best. It is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You think you're leading because they like you. But the moment it gets hard, the moment your niceness no longer benefits them, they leave. A boss who is only kind gets disrespected. A parent who is only friendly raises undisciplined children. A man who is only lovable gets forgotten when things fall apart. Fear isn't yelling. It isn't domination. It's the quiet power of consistency, of competence. It's being the kind of man people don't want to disappoint because they know what you stand for and what you won't tolerate. You want respect that doesn't need reminders, standards that don't need to be shouted, presence that makes people straighten up. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. Be the one who holds the line. Lesson 7. Love fades, fear lasts. If you can't be both, choose the one that makes people think twice before crossing you. Lesson 8. Risk over safety. Your father told you to play it safe, to take the steady job, to avoid conflict. He wanted you to build a quiet, comfortable life. No surprises, no chaos, no danger, just stability. But stability is a cage with carpet. You followed the rules. You minimized risk. You did everything right, and yet you feel stuck, numb, caged. Because deep down, you were not built for safety. You were built for conquest. Machiavelli understood that fortune is not a kind goddess. She's a wild force. She doesn't reward the careful. She gives herself to the bold, the reckless, the man who's willing to take the leap when others hesitate. You were taught to avoid risk, but risk is where all power lives. The business you didn't start, the truth you didn't say, the woman you didn't pursue. You traded danger for decay. You didn't fail, you faded. Safety feels good in the short term, but it rots you over time. A ship is safest in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. And if it never sails, it dies still and useless. You want to feel alive again? Then chase volatility, seek discomfort, build calluses, expose yourself to loss, because only then can you earn real gain. The average man fears risk. The Machiavellian man eats it for breakfast. Lesson 8. Risk is the rent you pay for power. Stop calculating what might go wrong and start calculating what staying still is already costing you. Lesson 9. Money is power. Your father told you to save your money, to be frugal, to avoid debt. He taught you that money is for comfort, a house, a car, a vacation, a safety net. He wanted you to have peace of mind, but peace without power is an illusion. You followed his advice. You budgeted, you cut coupons, you lived below your means. And yet, your boss still owns your time. Your landlord still owns your home. Your fears still own your future. Because money isn't for buying things. Money is for buying freedom. Machiavelli would tell you that every dollar is a soldier, a weapon, an option. With enough money, you don't have to tolerate disrespect. You don't have to beg for approval. You don't have to play by anyone's rules. Money doesn't just change your lifestyle, it changes your posture. It gives you leverage in every room you enter. It makes you harder to control, harder to replace, harder to ignore. So stop measuring wealth by what you own. Start measuring it by what you can walk away from. Your father told you to retire at 65. I'm telling you to become untouchable by 35. That doesn't mean wasting money on status symbols. That means building a war chest, one that buys you time, protection, privacy, and the ability to say no. Lesson 9. Money is not comfort. Money is power. Stop decorating your prison. Start building your fortress. Lesson 10. Be the villain. Your father told you not to make a scene. Don't offend. Don't provoke. Fit in. Be nice. Be normal. He wanted you to be accepted. He thought approval was the highest form of safety. But safety is not greatness. And approval is not power. You tried to live by his code. You stayed quiet when you should have spoken. You went along when you should have walked away. You smiled when you should have drawn the line. And now, the very people you tried to please don't even respect you. Because the truth is this: to do anything great, you must be willing to be the villain in someone else's story. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that men who change the world must be willing to be hated by it, not because they are evil, but because they refuse to conform. You will be misunderstood, called arrogant, cold, obsessed, selfish, good. Let them say it, let them stare, let them whisper. Because their comfort is not your duty, their approval is not your mission. You don't owe the world likability, you owe yourself transformation. So stop trying to be the hometown hero. Be the exile, be the outlier, be the monster they talk about in hushed tones, because you remind them of what they could have been if they weren't so afraid. Lesson 10. If no one ever hates you, you're playing too small. To be the hero of your story, you must first accept being the villain in theirs. Lesson 11. Strategic silence. Your father told you to talk it out, speak your mind, communicate. He believed that honesty and openness would solve everything, but they don't. In the real world, talking too much gets you played. It exposes your fears, your doubts, your strategy. Every extra word is a weapon, not in your hand, but in theirs. Machiavelli understood the power of silence. Not the silence of weakness, the silence of calculation. When you're angry, say nothing. When you're excited, say nothing. When you're unsure, say nothing. Because silence does not betray you, but your mouth will. Silence is discomforting. People rush to fill it. They reveal themselves. They guess at your thoughts. They tip their hand just to escape the tension. You don't need to dominate every room with words. You dominate by presence, by composure, by restraint. In negotiation, silence forces the other side to speak first, to justify, to over-explain, to panic. In conflict, silence is control. You don't flinch, you don't react, you don't feed the fire, you extinguish it with stillness. Your father told you to express everything. Machiavelli would tell you to conceal everything until the time is right. Not because you're afraid to speak, but because you're waiting for maximum impact. So let them talk, let them ramble, let them guess. You sit still, eyes forward, mind sharp. Lesson 11. He who speaks first loses. Power belongs to the man who speaks last or not at all. Lesson 12. Ruthless distance. Your father told you to stay close. That family is everything, that friends from childhood are forever, that loyalty is sacred even when it hurts. But what he called loyalty, Machiavelli would call self-sabotage. Because here's the truth. You cannot grow if you're surrounded by people who refuse to evolve. You cannot lead those who still see you as who you were, not who you've become. You cannot ascend while dragging dead weight. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more they know you, your old mistakes, your old weaknesses, the less they respect you. You may have outgrown your past, but they haven't. They still see the version of you they're comfortable keeping small. Machiavelli understood that power requires space, distance, elevation. The prince must rise above the village, not to look down on it, but to see clearly, to act decisively, to rule effectively. That means letting go, firing friends who won't grow, creating emotional boundaries with family who guilt-trip you back into mediocrity, curating your circle like a fortress gate. Only the disciplined, the driven, the dangerous get in. It feels cold, it feels cruel, but it is necessary. Because if you tie your rope to someone who is falling and refuse to cut it, you fall too. Your father would call it love. Machiavelli calls it suicide. Lesson 12. You don't owe your past a future. Loyalty without growth is just a leash. Cut it and climb. Lesson 13. Kill the father. Your father told you he knew best, that his way was the right way. He handed you a map, one he believed would lead you to safety, to success, to a good life. And because you loved him, you followed it. But that map is useless now. The world your father prepared you for no longer exists. His rules were made for a slower world, a kinder world, a more predictable world. But you are not in that world anymore. You're in the wilderness now. And that old map? It will get you killed. You've tried to make it work. You've tried to adapt the rules, to modernize the morals, to find some way to honor him while surviving. But you can't do both. Not anymore. Machiavelli would tell you this. The new prince must establish his own laws, his own order, his own path. You cannot lead a kingdom using your father's script. You must burn it and write your own. This isn't betrayal. This is evolution. Because if your father truly loved you, he wouldn't want you to suffer in his shadow. He would want you to rise beyond his limits, to see what he couldn't, to do what he didn't, to become what he was too afraid to be. He taught you what he knew, and he knew love, but he didn't know power. He didn't know strategy. He didn't know how dangerous the game had become. That's your job now. You don't honor him by copying him. You honor him by conquering everything he couldn't. Lesson 13. The final step to becoming a man is killing the father inside you so the king can rise. Lesson 14. The power of secrets. Your father told you to be open, to share, to let people in. He believed that honesty would earn you trust. That transparency was a sign of integrity, that if you had nothing to hide, you had nothing to fear. But what you show can and will be used against you. Machiavelli understood what your father didn't. Information is power, and silence is security. The more people know about you, the more they can control you, predict your moves, exploit your weaknesses, box you in. The world doesn't reward openness, it exploits it. The quiet man isn't hiding, he's protecting. Every secret is a shield, every unanswered question is a wall, every mystery is a moat. You think being understood will make people accept you, but often, the more they understand you, the less they respect you. Because the known is ordinary, and the ordinary is disposable. Learn to speak less, reveal only what's required. Let your results speak, let your silence haunt. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't owe them your thoughts, your fears, your plans. Your privacy is not selfish, it's strategic. Lesson 14. The man who reveals nothing cannot be manipulated. Mystery is not deception, it is defense. Lesson 15. Become unreasonable. Your father told you to be polite, to be reasonable, to meet people halfway. He told you not to ask for too much, not to rock the boat, not to be difficult. Because difficult people don't get invited. Difficult people don't get liked. But here's the truth. Difficult men build empires. Machiavelli understood what your father was too afraid to teach you. The world does not yield to those who make polite requests. It bends to those who demand, who insist, who refuse to accept the limits imposed by others. You've been told your standards are too high. Good. Raise them. You've been told you want too much. Good. Want more. You've been told you're too intense, too focused, too ambitious. Good. Get worse. Because every step toward greatness requires friction, pressure, conflict, not with others, with the world itself, with the soft expectations that surround you, with the smallness that tries to contain you. You are not here to fit in. You are here to expand, to reshape, to dominate. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man insists the world adapt to him. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. So, be that man. Break things. Demand excellence. Reject compromise. Refuse to be liked if it means being limited. Your father taught you to avoid trouble. Machiavelli teaches you to become it. Lesson 15. Being reasonable keeps you ordinary. Be unreasonable and become unstoppable. You were raised to be good, to play fair, to treat people with kindness. Your father told you that if you worked hard, stayed humble, and did the right thing, the world would reward you. But it didn't. You played by the rules and got played. You worked yourself to exhaustion and got overlooked. You were kind and got crushed. Because your father gave you a map for a world that no longer exists. Machiavelli offered something different. Not comfort, but clarity. Not morality, but mastery. He showed you that the world judges you by your outcomes, not your effort. That cruelty, when precise, creates peace. That a crafted reputation has more value than inner virtue. That necessity breeds loyalty, not kindness. He revealed that fear commands longer than love, that risk gives birth to life, while safety breeds death. He taught you that money isn't for pleasure, it's for power. That silence speaks louder than pleading. That secrets protect sovereignty. He reminded you that loyalty is a leash, and cutting it sets you free. That greatness demands you be the villain in someone's story. That if you don't kill the past, it will kill your future. That being reasonable keeps you ordinary, and you were not born to be ordinary. These truths are not gentle, they are not easy, but they are real. And now you've seen them, heard them, felt them. You don't get to unknow them. Most men will hear this and run back to their cages. But not you. Because you came here as a son, you leave as something else. This is not content, this is war. And war does not wait for permission. Choose your side.